How's everybody doing? Don't you guys look wonderful? Good answer. Well done, says Miss Smile. You're looking good. Good to see you, Dina. Absolutely. We were thanking you, Shirley. We were thanking you earlier for hosting the Social Loungers. So let's thank you again. Thank you. Now officially while you're here. Very good. This thing called you. We've been doing the skinny books all month. Creative Mind, this thing called life, this thing called you. Thanks you to Alex and Gary last week for our Father's Day talks. Those were wonderful. Really appreciate that. And as I was thinking about these skinny books, and I call them skinny books because Dr. Holmes wrote these like, those, the kind you can read in a day and a half. If you're a good reader, maybe in an hour. If you're a reader like me, a day and a half. So I like to, one of the things, I grew up in a household that cherished learning and books, and they were very sacred. And so the idea of writing in a book was like, no, And so it took me a long time to finally get to the place where I become very intimate with my books. And so now I highlight, I write in the margins. We become a friend, And it's a lovely way of reading, but it takes time, makes it slower, and it makes it more juicy to do it that way. And I was doing that with Creative Mind, with this thing called life, and this thing called you. And in Creative Mind, what that, just to recap quickly, these origin stories all over the world exist to explain how the universe came into existence. And what's common in all of them is this creation idea, that there's something, some thing, some nothing, some presence, some spirit, some God, whatever, that burst into existence through a creative act. And so the Creative Mind book was Dr. Holmes talking about this idea that God, he sees it as mind, creates, and that we carry that creation in ourselves, and that one of the things that God creates, he takes care of in this next book, this thing called life. And the thing that he talks about that God created, that Spirit created, that the universe created, whether it's science and the Big Bang or God, however you want to do it, something burst into experience, into expression. And part of that bursting into expression is this thing called life itself that we live through, that we live a part of. And so not only does he see mind as an expression of God, he also sees life as an expression of God. He puts capital M on mind, capital L on life to represent spirit itself, And the masterpiece of all creation, the masterpiece of life's creation is this thing called you. That's what he talks about in the third book. You are we, each and every one of us, is the thing that God is most enamored with. Because in all of the things that Spirit created, it's the human existence, the human creation that has the most godlike qualities. We have imagination, we have will, we have volition, we have choice. And that's what God has. And so that has been given into us. So we come with this power, this presence to do something that is very godlike. And so this thing called you is all about binding together to this idea so that we come with a sense of power and a sense of presence in our lives that enables us to do things that we sometimes here we cannot do, to step out of our comfort zone and to know that we can do it and do it successfully. In this thing called life, Dr. Holmes says, your creative power in you, your creative power comes from the originating spirit itself, right? That's what we're talking about. It comes from the originating spirit itself, which has no limit. This is the great thing that happens here. Has no limit, is conditioned by no circumstance, and governed by no law outside itself. See, the fact that we come from this experience and that we are an expression of God and that we come with all these powers, that means that we have no limits, that we are conditioned by no circumstance, and that we are not governed by any law except that it comes out from any law outside itself. Now that's where it gets tricky, see? Spirit knows nothing outside itself. But the human existence, that choice, that free will that we have, allows us to think that there are certain things outside ourselves. Think that there are certain abilities that others have that we don't have. Think that there are certain things that others have that we can't get, you see? And when we have that I can't, the law that we have set up says I can't. And as I told you a few weeks back, success comes in cans. It does. I can. That's how things happen. So what we need to do... What?
I never hear it. I like it.
It is. It's sweet, isn't it? Success comes in cans. I thought, okay, some of you weren't here for that. I talked about my brother and I coming up with this idea to create these cans, like a soup can, with the label with success comes in cans. And on the back, it has instructions like the generic food labels would have the caloric label, you know. It says your success comes in 60% affirmations and 20% positive speaking and all that stuff. And there was recipes on it, so how you could get your success going and everything like that. So we made this can. We had it all mocked up. We were ready to go into production. And the day before I was going to send it out to this modeler to make it up for me, I kind of Googled it for some reason. And by 20 of them, about 20 different success comes in cans, which I took to mean whatever. And we had this idea for about 5 years before we did anything on it, right? Exactly. When you have, because see, this is it. There's no law outside of itself, no law outside of ourselves. Something told me, you know what? I don't know if this is going to work. I'm not sure if this is going to work. And what happened was I created a law of not sure it's going to work. And you know what? It didn't work, because that's how the law works. It works by not working and also by working, because it's immutable. You know, it's just doesn't argue with anything. The law doesn't have the ability to do what the human experience can do, which can argue. You know, it can say yes, no, maybe so. But no, the law just says, oh, that's the idea. Okay, got to go with it. He says maybe, so it's a maybe. You know, that's how it works. You say yes, the law says, he says yes, it's a done deal. When you don't get and that's what this thing called you is all about. When your manifestation doesn't come out, and this is not to blame anybody. You know, there was a practitioner study course for a study review session with a minister and a student becoming a practitioner. And at the lesson, one of the things you do in practitioner training is you have to come up with a definition for the science of mind. And in this training, the teacher said to the student, "What is your definition of the science of mind?" And the student responded back, "It's your fault." That's not the truth. You know? That's not the truth. But sometimes you could get this message and you can internalize to think that it's your fault if stuff doesn't happen. And the caveat, the asterisk on that is, no, it's not your fault, but it is the human experience's fault, because we have so many messages coming at us, it's hard to separate all those out. This is why we have to do the spiritual practice on a regular basis to get beyond these things, you see. This is why, because we're packed with power, but we have stepped through life. My dad used to say, don't half-step anything. Well, he didn't use the word step. But that's the thing. Don't half-step through anything. There's power in stepping fully into your experience of life. I was thinking about my college that I went to. It's an HBC. Anybody know what an HBC is? Yeah. What's an HBC, Sanford? Save me, baby. Historically Black college. Absolutely. And I went to an HBC, and there are fraternities on these campuses. I happen to have been in one of them. It's called Alpha. It's at the top of the list, unlike the Omegas at the bottom. Alpha's made the Omegas. This is the kind of rivalry that goes on these campuses. And one of the ways they express this rivalry is through stepping, these stepping contests. Go home and Google stepping, college stepping. You will see this amazing energy of just full out, going, fire, you know? And that's what this thing called you, this thing called you is all about. Are you a Q? Really? Do you have a brand? Some of the Qs actually get a little Omega branded on their arm. They're so strong. Alphas go like, no, not doing that. Where was I? I was back into the idea of the power that comes and stepping, yes, and the full-on energy that comes with stepping, because there's this thing where they throw themselves with this all-consuming fire, this all-consuming fire of inward conviction. They can do this, you know, and it's just so strong and energy. And we have that same kind of strength in each and every one of us, you see. We have that kind of power, and we're not supposed to step into our life with this half step. You know, half measures avail us nothing. Maybe some people have heard that phrase, half measures avail us nothing. We turn to a power that knows, that has all answers, and that power is spirit. And we have that spiritual power within us to move through and find the answers that we need. It says here, whatever we do, the whole of us should be engaged in doing it. There are no half measures to living. Try to live halfway. You really can't. Try to half breathe. Try to have half a heartbeat. Try to have half your body wake up and the other half stay asleep all day. It just doesn't work like that. Life. The last two were good, but the last one maybe not. Yeah. But you get my point, right? You know what I'm saying? You're awake, you're awake. Your body is functioning, it's all working there, And so we need to live in that. We don't take a half a life. We take the whole life. And this fire, I love that phrase he has in the book. All-consuming fire of inward conviction. And that's how it happens, you see. The beauty of the creative mind, the beauty of living in this thing called life, the beauty of this thing called you comes back to my divine mulligan that I started the service off with. In golf, you miss a shot, you can take it over. That's called a mulligan, right? Do you get unlimited mulligans in golf? No. How many do you get? One mulligan. 0. You're that good, huh? You get one mulligan. Okay. Well, God's not a golfer. Thank goodness for that, because you get ultimate mulligans in spirit. You always have another opportunity because, see, divinity is everywhere. It's all giving, it's all knowing, it's also all forgiving. You see, it permeates all of space. It's like it penetrates everything, and it's engulfed and swallowed up by everything. There is no space that is not a God space, you see? So because we are these self-choosing centers in God's mind, these self-organizing principle of ourselves. It's this thing that can think an idea and see that idea in our imagination and then go about and make it happen. Can turn a bunch of notes on a page that came out of the mind into a song out of the guitar. That's the beauty of the mind. And so what we get to do is to know that if we haven't made it today, we can start over. We can always start over. Dr. Holmes says, it makes no difference what your harvest may have been last year. Today, you can create a new future if you have the belief that you can. That's the thing. Do you have the belief that you can? And are you willing to allow yourself, have enough love, self-love, to say, I didn't hit the mark this time, but I have another arrow. I think I shall aim again and try one more time, because I know that I can hit the target. And if you come at life with that kind of direction, if you come at life with that kind of spirit, it doesn't matter how many starts, you'll get another start. You get another divine mulligan. You get another divine mulligan over and over again until you get the hole in one. And I'm not talking about, mass fortunes. We talked about this in our class on Saturday. So often in our teaching, particularly because there's a lot of talk about getting and manifesting and making things happen, that the getting is to get the new car, the getting is to get the new job, the getting is to get the new partner, the new wife, the new husband, the raise. But the getting can be also as simple as finding more joy. We had our board meeting this week, and we were talking about, I can't remember how it came up. There was a question that was asked, where would you go on vacation? Costa, how did that come? I don't know. Where's the most perfect place you can go on vacation? Costa's answer is the place where I am right now. The place where I am right now. That can be the thing that you try to get. That can be the new harvest for your day. To have such a sense of satisfaction, to have so much comfort in your skin that you feel like you're on vacation wherever you are, that you feel like you're blessed wherever you are, that you can see opportunities and feel grounded in your life wherever you are. So when we talk about getting more in the Science of Mind teaching, we're not talking about getting more things necessarily. We're talking about more joy, more harmony, more peace, more comfort. And hey, face it, sometimes things do bring more comfort. I love my shirts. These things bring me a lot of comfort, a lot of joy. I love my socks, as you know. Those give me a lot of joy, a lot of fun, Now, these are kind of plain socks today, later, at the line if you want to. But the point is, the other things that I'm finding that I've been treating about to bring more joy, to bring more harmony, more peace in my life, resulted in Johanna coming into my life, resulted in her bringing 2 kitty cats into my life. I never knew that I would have the joy of watching Yoshi laying on the banister the other day. And she's just like sleep, one leg's like hanging off like that, you know? And she's just knocked out. And a squirrel comes crawling up. And the squirrel's looking at her, and Yoshi just looked up like, and I was like, that was pure joy. Pure joy. I never knew that could come from a creature that has an attitude most of the time. You know? So when we talk about manifesting more in the science of mind teaching, when we talk about being more you, to be more fully expressed, to be more fully alive, not half alive, to be fully alive, it's not always the things, it's the presence, it's the energy of being, it's the comfort of being alive in each and every day. And that takes work. That takes work because we build up these walls made of mental blocks that are cemented by fear and negativity that have this mortar of unbelief and past experiences. And so it takes time to etch that, to scrape out that mortar, to break down those bricks. And what we do for that, we do treatment work, you know. We do our affirmations. We take classes. We spend time coming here in service with each other to share these ideas, to look another person in the eye who understands what you're understanding and say, you get it? I get it. I need some support here. How can you help me? And so we help each other in community. We do service. We have sacred service. We have our service teams. And if anybody would like to volunteer for a service team, it's not work. These folks are laughing and having a good time around here. And then we get to do the big, who's your source prayer at the beginning of the service. It's lovely. It begins with acceptance. Acceptance of where my life is. Acceptance that I can make a difference, that I can make a change. And that change comes from a place of forgiveness. That I can forgive myself for my past foibles, for my past mistakes, and I can make a choice to live more fully, to make a new life. Because every day I get to take a new piece of life and harvest something different, to plant a new seed so that new fruit can grow from my experiences. All of these things, the classes, the treatments, the affirmations, coming to service, being of service, working for forgiveness, working to accept things as they are, to get grounded in yourself. All of that builds confidence, it builds conviction, it builds faith. And when we have confidence, when we have conviction, when we have faith, when we know that we are one with Spirit, that there is something in me that knows, that can do, if I will just step out of the way and let all of the negative experiences fall back into the background and stand in the possibility of the bright light of the Spirit, wow, amazing stuff can happen. But Dr. Holmes says, our difficulty lies in cultivating an inner awareness, a deep spiritual realization that we are one with all the presence, one with all the power that there is. We have to cultivate that stuff. It doesn't come naturally. It comes early, though. This morning we were on our morning walk. We're walking along, and I see this mother, and she's got her, I don't know, I thought she was like one of these characters from a sci-fi film, but it actually was a baby. That was, you know, you know those stroller things, backpacks, the baby sitting front ways, you know. And I'm saying to Johanna, I said, look at this mother. She's just teaching her child all kinds of stuff because they're just pointing, you know. As you get closer, I said, wow, it's so wonderful to see. We talked about her. She says, it's so wonderful to see you teaching your child. She goes, no, child's teaching me. Child's teaching me, you know, to see again, right. She's teaching me to see again. We come here naturally understanding the message that we come here each Sunday to remember. You know? It's that wall. It's that brick and mortar filled in, cemented in with negative experiences, past experiences, belief systems that we no longer need, that we no longer serve us. It takes time to break that stuff down, to cultivate it. So, you know, I mean, this may sound like a pitch to come back every week, and it is, but it... But it's also a reminder that your time here serves a purpose. And it serves a purpose in a most unique way because you may not even understand it. You know, it's like it happens, and then you have the 20/20. You have the hindsight. You go, wow, I just moved through something I've never moved through before. I think it's because I've been doing this work. It actually showed up. It's time delayed. The noon time of the sun, top of the sky, noon, 1 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock is the hottest time of the day. It's delayed. It's time released. This is timed release spirituality. But it will show up as you do the work. You can bust through the wall. I love what I call the snowflake principle. We are all individualized expressions of the divine. No one is like anybody else. We don't need to copy anybody else. Emerson tells us imitation is suicide. Why is imitation suicide? It's not because it's going to kill you. No, it's not that. It's that it's going to kill the uniqueness that you are if you try to be like somebody else. You see? You don't want to be like anybody else. The Gospel of Thomas is a lovely book. If anybody's ever read it, it's just a bunch of sayings that they picked up from fragments that was written by someone who calls himself the Twin. And I love the saying number 70. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. Sounds pretty cool. All right. Part 2. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. If you don't bring forth the newness, the uniqueness, the individuality of yourself, little by little, ekes away at you. You see it. You see it in people's lives. You know, they start out right here, and then they kind of get like here, and then they're like there, and they're completely bent over, and they get a scowl on their face, and they're not happy anymore. You know, slowly something on the subconscious level begins to affect the human spirit and breaks us down because there's something in us that's calling out, be. And if you get in touch with yourself and through those practices, particularly that one called meditation, particularly getting into that gap space, that message will come to you. It will just say, you, my dear beloved, I have put this idea in you. Are you ready? And in the silence, something will say yes. And then you can bring forth what is within you. And it will save you. It'll bring you a new sense of peace. Yes. Yes. Practice is possible and it is important. However, there is a caveat to the daily practice we talk about. There is a caveat to the individuality, to the gnosis, to the knowing of the self. That is, it is not necessary. It is not necessary to spend your entire time in prayer and meditation. It's nice, but that's not necessary. Here's what Dr. Holmes says is necessary, and I totally agree. What is necessary is seeking to make your work a prayer. You're believing an act. You're living an art. See, each of us is a masterpiece of the divine. We're already a work of art. So our life is an opportunity for us to put a sweet frame around it and a nice piece of glass in front of it and to find a wonderful display place for it. Because our believing becomes an action in our lives, and that believing leads us to a place where everything that we do, and not where we're talking about your work, we're not talking about your job, we're talking about your work at life itself. How do you work at life? Are you conscious in the activities that you take in life? And if you do, and if you are, then you become to believe in that, then your life indeed becomes a work of art. Because it's all about this thing called you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. And so it is. Did you notice? I was thinking if I didn't say anything, nobody would. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah. Yeah, right. Cool.
Got to re-experience Father's Day.
I like it. I like it. Let's do the affirmation. A mighty, majestic power seeks expression through me with a promise of joy, success, happiness, and peace. I accept. Do that last part again. I accept. No matter what. No matter what. Ah, beautiful. Oh, it's our healing prayer time. And with a bag of chips. Fries come with that. Mm-hmm.
Extra big, super size.
There you go.
Wait, John, this is specifically for you. Oh, you're messing up. No, it's creativity, right?
It's creative. Do you guys know what this box is for?
Yes.
Do you?
Put prayers in. Why is it?
Then we must be all prayed up. Nothing. But I would encourage you, and the center is open Monday through Thursday, okay, 9 to 5. You can come here. It's your center. It's our center. Come here and sit in the sanctuary and meditate. Come here and bring your prayer. Come here and hang out with Dr. Susan and Lane and I and Bridget. We're all here kind of going like, we're bored with each other. So come say hello to us, No, that's not true. But the point is that this space that we occupy here is our spiritual home. It's our community, and if you're around, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you come by and sit and spend time and sit with prayer, talk with practitioners, and put a prayer request in during the week. And during the week, the practitioners take these prayer requests and they pray over them for you throughout the week, knowing the truth that will set you free, that will turn your life into a masterpiece. Okay. Okay, so at this time we'll do our healing prayer, and we know that there is power in prayer, and there's also power in the vibration of the word being spoken aloud. I truly believe in that. So I have for you an opportunity to speak the truth for anyone that you know that might be in need of prayer this day. If it's yourself, any condition, even in the world, because our prayers go out and affect everything that happens, and the consciousness that we hold in this place is powerful. So let's use that now. I open the room up to anyone who wants to share for prayer. Lee, Sharon, and the kids. Jerry. Rising up from the silence is the power of the one Spirit that is in this place. There's a movement in this place. It is a movement of love. Love that puts into operation a law that brings into manifestation the desires that have been set forth by the words we have spoken here. I'm simply knowing that this divine energy that is spirit, that desires to express, has so much to express by means of each and every one of us. So we have an opportunity to be more God in the world by being more of us in the world, by being more of what we have spoken into prayer at this moment. So we activate that prayer by acknowledging it, by knowing it, and by saying yes to it, and allowing that demonstration to be made in the lives of those that we hold dear, including ourselves. So we take this time to recognize right action, to recognize divine operation, to know that health and wholeness is the mainstay of the day, to recognize that there is right employment and that skills are coming together where needs are required, and those skills are perfect for that situation that's unfolding in a divine way. I know that wherever there's a sense of need for forgiveness, that forgiveness is already received, and harmony is on the other side. Where there is an idea that needs some kind of understanding, there's guidance and there's wisdom and there's knowledge unfolding. This is the way Spirit works. We ask, not with a plead, but with a claim for our good. We declare our good, and we accept it now in this word, through this prayer, with a sense of deep, deep gratitude. Gratitude for the power and the knowledge of how this thing called life works, how it works by means of us, how it works through the creative mind to make life beautiful, to turn it into a masterpiece of art, to make life living poetry. So if you feel that energy, if you feel that truth, if you know it to be true, affirm this with me now as we release this prayer into the law by saying, and so it is.